तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. We are studying the commentary of Bhagavata Shankaracharya on the 5th Sutra of the Brahma Sutras. It's also a separate adhikarana. Ikshatehe na ashabdam. This is the sutra. So here we were seeing how the opposition of or the standpoint of Sankhya philosophers is countered here, because Sankhya's believe that pradhana, which is a non-sentient or insentient, non-conscious principle, it is responsible for the creation of this world. The Advaitins, they prove that that is not possible, because here in the Upanishad it is said, Tadaikshata bahusyam prajayeti tattejo asrajata. Chandogya Upanishad. Tadaikshata, it thought, or it imagined, or it envisioned, etc., envisaged. So only a sentient or a conscious principle can do that. Therefore, it is not possible that pradhana is the cause of this universe, because it is neither sentient nor conscious. Also, another place in the Upanishads, that is from the Aitareya Upanishad, is quoted by Shankaracharya. Tatha anyatra, he says, Atma va idameka eva agra asit. The Atman alone was there in the beginning. Na anyat kinchana mishat. There was nothing else in the beginning. And so, there was only Atma. There was nothing separate from Atma, different from Atma in the beginning. Sa ikshata lokanu srija iti. So that Atma, it ikshata, it envisaged, or it thought, or it saw, envisioned. What? Lokanu srija iti. It envisioned something that could create this world, could produce this world. So it thought that let me lokanu srija, let me produce this world, or let me produce lokan, let me produce various worlds. Sa iman lokan asrijata. And so after thinking that let me produce various worlds, it produced all these worlds. So iti iksha purvikameva shrishtim achaste. So in this manner, before the creation of the universe, there is this action of ikshana, or envisioning, thinking, etc. So that is there. So it is not that somebody has produced this universe immediately. First, some principle thought of producing this universe. Kvachitcha shodasha kalam purusham prastutyaha. Also, shodasha kala purusha. That means a person who is embodied. Purusha means a person who is embodied. That person is presented here, and it is told like this: Sa Ishan Chakre. That person thought or envisioned Ishan Chakre. Sa Pranam Asrijata. That after thinking like that, that person created prana. So this is also Prashna Upanishad. Iti. in this manner it is told. Here, what is the meaning of the word ikshati? So that is also clarified. Ikshatehe iti cha dhatvartha nirdeshaha abhipretah. By the word ikshatehe, envisioned or saw, etc. By that word, what is mentioned? What is intended? Dhatu artha nirdeshaha abhipretah. That which is implied by the meaning of the verb, that is indicated. Dhatu artha nirdeshaha abhipretah. So that which is implied by the verb is indicated, not yajatehi iti vat. Just like yajatehe, yajati. In yajati, that means one who performs the sacrifice or performing sacrifice. There, the implication of the meaning of the verb is to be taken, not the verb itself. Not the verb itself. So, implication of the meaning of the verb should be taken. So, na dhatu nirdeshaha, not the verb itself. This is what here it means. So, here we have to understand this in the context of Mimamsakas. So, Mimamsakas, what do they say? How? So, here there can be a objection. So, what is the objection which can be there? There is this sutra, Ikhtipau Dhatu Nirdeshe, Vyakarana Sutra, Ikhtipau Dhatu Nirdeshe. So this, it is in Katyayana. So here, Ik and Stip, both are suffixes. Ik and Stip, they are two suffixes. Sorry, we have to venture into a grammar a bit. Don't be so much worried. Just see the meaning of that. And so both these suffixes, they are used in the context of the meaning or implication of a verb. So this is according to Katyayana's Sutra. So here, Iksha, there it is Stip. The Iksha, in the word Iksha, the suffix used is Stip. So in Stip, Iksha word, that is Iksh, Ikshate or Ikshati, when you say, the suffix used is Stip. So the Stip suffix, it is there, one has to take the implication of the meaning of the word. So not the exact word itself. So the example given here is in the Mimamsa Sutras, that is the Sutras of the Mimamsa philosophy, the 3rd chapter, 4th Adhikarana, 1st Sutra. Iti kartavyata videhe yajate purvavatvam. Iti kartavyata videhe yajatehe purvavatvam. So here that meaning is to be understood, that like previous purvavatvam, like previous yajatehe, the sacrifice is done. Iti kartavyata videhe, in the nature of the duty. This is the general meaning of this sutra. So here, yajatehe, the word yajati, has to be taken to mean the implication of the meaning of the verb yajati. So there we have to understand it to imply a Vedic ritual or Vedic sacrifice. So it is implying a Vedic sacrifice. And so a Vedic sacrifice is involved. That is what is implied here. Implied here. So there, why it is necessary to take only the implication? Because there various other parts or subsidiary or auxiliaries of yajnas or Vedic sacrifices are not indicated. So that is why purvavatva. So there, suppose a sacrifice involves various aspects. Whatever aspect has been already covered or has been performed, that has to be taken as performed in the subsequent Vedic rituals also. Every time you don't have to think of the sacrifices or the parts or auxiliaries or subsidiaries of a sacrifice which have been performed in the beginning, earlier. So that is why this is only an implication. So suppose somebody is performing a Vedic ritual and what is subsidiary to that Vedic ritual has not been performed, then that has to be performed. But when that Vedic ritual is continued or followed by some other ritual, then one need not again perform the subsidiary. This is the context there. So that is why here yajati has to mean the implication of the verb or implication of the meaning of the verb and not the verb itself. This is what we have to understand. So if that is the case, tena yaha sarvajnyaha sarvavid yasya jnanamayam tapaha tasmad etat brahma nama rupam annam cha jayate Mundakopanishad. Iti evam adini api sarvajneshwara karana parani vakyani udahartavyani. So here the meaning is that by this, tena, by this, or by this kind of understanding of the principle which envisions ikshate, yaha, that which or who is sarvajnaha, all-knowing, omniscient, sarvavid, again omniscient, yasya jnanamayam tapaha, one whose tapa or austerity is of the form of knowledge, jnanamaya tapaha. In the Bhagavadgita it is there. Bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhava magataha. 4th chapter, 10th shloka. Vitaraga bhaya krodha. Like that it starts. So there it is told jnana tapasa puta. So purified by the austerity of knowledge, jnana tapas. So here that is what is told. So that Brahman, for which what is the austerity? Jnana tapas. That means one has to constantly discern the real from the unreal. The real from the unreal. That is the tapasya. That is the austerity. Tasmad etat brahma nama rupam annam cha jayate. So that, therefore, this Brahman, nama of name, and rupa, form, and food, anna, is produced. So that means that which is the unmanifested principle from which this manifested principle is produced, or to say in another words, Sakara Brahman or Brahman with form is produced from formless Brahman. So this, it is another way of the Upanishad, another manner in which the Upanishad says that this universe is nothing but Brahman. Nothing but Brahman. That is the idea here. So, yadyuktam, so now that iti eva madini api, in such instances of the Upanishads, sarvajneshwara karana parani vakyani udahartavyani. So here also other sentences of the Upanishads, vakyani, udahartavyani, have to be cited or have to be shown as examples. Which sentences are talking about Sarvajna Ishvara Karana Parani, which talk about the Ishvara, the omniscient Lord of the universe, as the cause of the universe. Karana Parani. So related to Parani, related to Karana, the cause of the universe. So Sarvajna Ishvara, the omniscient Lord who is the cause of this universe, and whatever other sentences in the Upanishads or in Vedanta talk about such a Lord, they have to be cited here. They have to be quoted here. That is what is being told here. Yaduktam sattva dharmena jnanena sarvagyam pradhanam bhavishyati tat na upapadyate. So what has been told earlier by the Sankhya philosophers as their standpoint or their argument, yad uktam, what has been told, sattva dharmena jnanena sarvagyam pradhanam bhavishyati iti. So they have told that, you see, pradhana has got three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. And knowledge is from sattva guna. And because knowledge is from sattva guna, pradhana becomes omniscient, because obviously sattva guna is what creates or produces the state of omniscience. Bhavishyati iti. So pradhanam becomes omniscient, like that they have argued. That argument na upapadyate is not plausible, is not logical. Nahi, not also, pradhana avasthayam guna samyat sattva dharmaha jnanam sambhavati. Also, it was argued that in pradhana state, there is an equilibrium of the gunas, and hence there is the occurrence or the arising of knowledge, which is the property of sattva guna. Sattva dharma jnanam sambhavati. That is also not possible. Nanu. So here there is this Nanu. So again the Advaita Vedantins themselves, they counter uktam, what has been told. It cannot be accepted that sarvajnana shaktimatvena sarvagyam bhavishyati iti. Another argument of the Sankhyan philosophers was that, see, a person or a principle becomes omniscient because of the power of knowing everything. Sarvajnana shaktimatvena, by the power of knowing everything. That was what was the argument. So that tadapi, that too, na upapadyate, does not hold water. Yadi gunasamye sati sattva vyapashrayam jnana shaktim ashritya sarvagyam pradhanam uchyeta kamam rajah tamo vyapashrayam api jnana pratibandhaka shaktim ashritya kinchignyam uchyeta. So, yadi, if gunasamye sati, upon the equilibrium of the three gunas, or when the three gunas are in the equilibrium state, in an equilibrium state, sattva vyapashrayam, then that which is in the sattva guna, jnana shaktim ashritya, based on or on the basis of the power of knowledge which is present in sattva guna, which is in a state of equilibrium. So in a state of equilibrium of all the three gunas, there the power of knowledge present in the sattva gunas, so sattva guna, based on that power of knowledge, pradhana becomes omniscient. That is what has been told. If that has to be accepted, then at the same equilibrium state, there are also rajoguna and tamoguna. Then rajaha tamaha vyapashrayam api. So based on those means inherent in rajaguna and tamoguna, which is in a state of equilibrium, jnana pratibandaka shaktim ashritya kinchit jnam uchyata. See, the argument is when the three gunas come in a state of equilibrium. So all the three gunas are present, but in an equilibrium state. All are in balance. So at that state, whatever power of knowledge is present in sattva guna, based on that power of knowledge, pradhana becomes omniscient. This is the argument which was given by Sankhya philosophers. Now, if that argument has to be accepted, then obviously in the equilibrium state, other two gunas are also in equilibrium. Rajoguna and tamoguna are also in equilibrium. If they are also in equilibrium, then definitely rajoguna and tamoguna, they don't produce knowledge. They produce obstacles to knowledge. Jnana pratibandaka. So they have the power to hinder knowledge, to cause obstacle to knowledge. So based on that power, kinchit jnamuchyata. Here one is saying that based on the power of knowledge present in the sattva guna in an equilibrium state of the gunas, pradhana will become omniscient. The same logic can be offered to say that raja tama gunas, when they are in the equilibrium state, their desire is there, kama is there, and that kama and also their ignorance is there, or limited knowledge is there, because knowledge is hindered by, or obstacle of knowledge is created by the power of obstacle of knowledge present in rajaguna and tamoguna. Apicha, so that logic does not hold water. That is the idea. Apicha, further, na asakshika sattva vrittihi janati na abhidiyate. Also, nya means there is this jnana, so like that, there is this nyayate, etc. Nyayate, etc. That nya, knowing, the verb for knowing. So, apicha, further, na asakshika, without witness, without a witness or without being a witness, sattva vritti janati, sattva vritti, or the impression created by sattva guna, that is of knowledge, of knowing, that cannot happen. Na abhidiyate, it cannot happen unless the principle which is knowing, or whoever is knowing, is a witness. So unless you witness something, so there is what is called cognition in English. Unless you cognize something, unless the process of cognition is there, you cannot know. So how can an insentient principle know? It cannot know, because there is no cognition. Cognition is necessary. To be cognition, to take cognizance of things, you have to be a witness. Suppose in front of you there is a cup of coffee. Somebody is keeping a cup of coffee in front of you and saying, you see, there is a cup of coffee. So what will happen if it is a normal human being? Then that coffee cup need not come in front of you to understand that there is coffee. The smell itself will tell you that coffee is there. So you become witness, immediately understand. Suppose you are not so normal. Okay, you probably are also suffering from maybe COVID, so you don't have smell. So that coffee comes in front of you on the table, and then you see the coffee, and then you say, oh, this is coffee. Also, depending upon who makes the coffee, maybe you will have to also see the label to understand that it is the coffee. Whatever the case may be, in all these situations, A, you understand that there is coffee by smell. B, you see coffee on your table and understand. C, so you are told that this is coffee, okay? And then you understand that it is coffee. In all these cases, you have to witness this. Only then you will get the knowledge that there is coffee. Without witnessing it, you cannot get the knowledge that there is coffee. That is a very important thing. So cognition, sakshi, is very important. Asakshika, that which is not the witness, a non-witness, cannot, just because there is sattva guna, understand something or know something. Abhideya, abhideya, or understanding, jnana, does not happen there. Na, also, cha achetanasya pradhanasya shakshitvam asti. The insentient or non-conscious pradhana does not have the property or the quality of being a witness. Tasmat, therefore, anupapannam pradhanasya sarvagyatva. Therefore, it is implausible or illogical. What is illogical? Pradhana's omniscience is illogical. Pradhanasya sarvagyatvam. Pradhana cannot be omniscient. It cannot be all-knowing because it is insentient. It cannot become a witness. It cannot cognize anything. Yoginam tu chetanatvat sattva utkarsha nimittam sarvagyatvam upapannam iti anu udaharanam. Anu udaharanam. So, in the Sankhya philosophers' argument, it was told that, you see, yogis, they become omniscient. So that is a anudaharana, means it is a wrong example. It is not a proper example. Why? Yoginam tu chetanatvat. Because of their being conscious, yogis, they are conscious. Sattva utkarsha nimittam. And because in them, the sattva guna is more pronounced, or it is more. And so, sarvagyatvam upapannam, it is logical that there is omniscience. Iti, this is anudaharanam. It is not the proper example here. Because yogis are conscious, whereas pradhana is not conscious. So it's not a proper example here. Atha, and so, punaha sakshi nimittam ikshitritvam pradhanasya kalpyeta. So also, here we again pradhanasya kalpyeta. We again say that sakshi nimittam ikshitritvam, whatever gets, if we say that pradhana has the quality of envisioning, ikshana, so then we have to think of what is the principle from which or by which pradhana gets this quality of ikshana. Because pradhana itself, because it is a non-conscious principle, it is an insentient principle, it itself does not have any quality, or it does not have any power of ikshana. It cannot envision. But if one has to say, if one has to sakshi nimittam ikshitritvam pradhanasya kalpyata, if one has to posit or one has to kalpyata, one has to imagine or give that quality of witness to pradhana, which is not possible because it is insentient. But still, if one has to give that quality, then the question comes that from which principle is pradhana getting this quality? Now there is an example to make things clearer. Yatha agni nimittam aya pindadehe dadritvam. So agni aya pinda means a ball of iron ball. Iron ball has the quality of burning when it is completely red hot because fire is there. So iron ball itself cannot burn, but when it is heated and it becomes red hot, at that moment that iron ball can burn anything. It is like Sri Ramakrishna says that potatoes are jumping. So potatoes cannot jump. Potatoes are in the vessel, they are jumping. Why? Because fire is beneath. Similarly, all of us are working because God is there at the basis. God is there. So like that, the iron ball cannot burn. Iron ball does not burn. In fact, if you keep it, it might become cold also. It can become cold. And so when it is cold weather, if you touch an iron ball, you feel very cold. But when it is heated and it becomes red hot, at that time, it derives the quality of burning. Similarly, if one has to posit that pradhana has seen or something, that means pradhana itself cannot see or it cannot envision, but that quality of envisioning, it has derived from some other thing. So then we will have to ask, what is that thing from which it has derived this quality of envisioning? Tatha sati, if that were the case, yannimitam ikshitritvam pradhanasya, from what cause pradhana has got this quality of ikshitra, that means ikshate, or to envision. From whatever that quality has come, from whatever principle, tadeva sarvagyam, that is omniscient. Whatever principle, just like from fire, when you heat an iron ball, it becomes red hot, it derives the property of burning from fire, or fire has entered into that iron ball. Similarly, if pradhana has to be said that no, it has the property of envisioning, so pradhana cannot have the property of envisioning. It is deriving the property, acquiring the property from some other principle. And whatever principle it is acquiring it from, tadeva sarvagyam, that principle itself is omniscient. Mukhyam Brahma, and that is main, that is the main thing. And that main thing is Brahman. And that Brahman is Jagataha Karanam iti yuktam. It is logical that Brahman is the cause of this universe. Yat punaruktam, further what has been said, Brahmanaha api na mukhyam sarvagyatvam upapadyate nitya jnana kriyatve jnana kriyam prati swatantriya asambhavat iti. So also the Sankhya philosophers have given this wonderful argument. Wonderful is not there. I'm just adding. So they have given this wonderful argument. Brahmanaha api na mukhyam sarvagyatvam upapadyate. So they have told that Brahman, in Brahman, the main quality is not omniscience, or omniscience is not main thing present in Brahman. Why? Because Nitya Jnana Kriyatve, because the knowledge is, if Brahman has got eternal knowledge, it is eternally Satchit Ananda. So that means it is eternally existing. It is eternally conscious or knowledge. It has knowledge and eternally blissful. So if that is the case, that means because it is having the process of knowledge, Nitya Jnana Kriyatve, it is Nitya, it is eternal. Jnana Kriyam Prati Swatantriya Asambhavat iti. So Brahman cannot have any kind of freedom in terms of knowledge, because knowledge is always there. So it cannot know anything because there is nothing to be known. That is the logic. That is the kind of weird logic which is given by Sankhya philosophers. For that, here it is told, Atra Uchyate. We are responding to that. Idam Tavad Bhavan Prashtavyaha Katham Nitya Jnana Kriyatve Sarvagyatva Hanihi iti. Sometimes when you read the Brahma Sutras in a form of conversation, it is very interesting. One has to not be lost in the Sanskrit part of it. Just take the meaning and it is very interesting. It is enjoyable. So what is the question? The question is, you see, Brahman cannot be eternally knowledgeable, or eternal knowledge cannot be there in Brahman. If Brahman has got eternal knowledge, then Brahman will lose the independence to choose knowledge. That is the logic of Sankhya philosophers. Here, idam tavad bhavan prashtavyah. So now here, you please tell us. We are asking you. Means Advaita Vedantins are asking Sankhya philosophers. Katham Nitya Jnana Kriyatve Sarvagyatva Hani iti. How does omniscience be lost? Sarvagyatva Hani. How does omniscience get lost if there is eternal knowledge? Nitya Jnana Kriyatve Katham Sarvagyatva Hani. Eternally one person is knowledgeable, or eternal knowledge is there. How does it go against omniscience? Actually, it is one and the same thing. If eternal knowledge means you know everything. Eternal knowledge means that is what eternal knowledge. That means your knowledge has got no boundaries. There is no time or space where you don't have knowledge. So you know, that means you know everything. So you ask anything and you know everything. That is the idea. So how does eternal knowledge go against or be an obstacle to omniscience, knowing everything? Again, further it is clarified. Yasya hi sarva vishaya avabhasana kshamam jnanam nityamasti saha asarvagya iti vipratisiddham. Yasya hi, one who indeed has sarva vishaya avabhasana kshamam, one who has the ability to understand avabhasana, sarva vishaya, everything, all subjects. One who has the ability to understand all subjects, and that jnana, that knowledge, nityamasti, and that one has eternally, constantly. Saha, that person, asarvagya iti vipratisiddham, that person is not omniscient. To say this, it is vipratisiddham, it is contradictory. How can you say that that person has knowledge of every subject? Okay, very good. And that knowledge is eternal. Very good. But you know, he is not omniscient. He is not all-knowing, but he knows the knowledge of all subjects, and he knows that all the time, but he is not all-knowing. Poor fellow. How is that possible? Mutually contradictory. Same thing. If he knows everything all the time, then that is what omniscience is. Anityatvehi jnanasya kadachit janati kadachit na janati iti asarvagyatvam api syat. See, if the knowledge was jnanasya hi anityatve, if the knowledge was temporary or it was impermanent, kadachit janati, sometimes that person knows, kadachit na janati, sometimes does not know, iti asarvagyatvam api syat, that will be like not being omniscient or having limited knowledge. Na asau jnana nityatve doshaha asti, but this defect is not there in jnana nityatve, in the eternity of knowledge, or in the constancy or permanence of knowledge. If knowledge is always there, then you cannot say kadachit janati, kadachit na janati. Sometimes one knows, sometimes one does not know. It is not possible. It is always there. So if it is always there, where does the question of not being omniscient or not being all-knowing come? Jnana nityatve jnana vishayaha स्वातंत्र्य व्यपदेशो न उपपद्यते इति चेत् न प्रततौष्ण्य प्रकाशे अपि सवितरी दहति प्रकाशयति इति स्वातंत्र्य व्यपदेश दर्शनात्. So now, if your argument is jnana nityatve, because of knowledge being eternal, jnana vishayaha स्वातंत्र्य व्यपदेशः न उपपद्यते इति चेत्, iti, like this, chet, if you are saying like this, what are you saying? That because knowledge is eternal, one cannot na upapadyata, means it does not become logical that there will be independence regarding jnana vishaya, that there will be independence regarding selection of the subject of knowledge, because knowledge is always there, so you cannot actually choose. You don't have the independence to choose the subject of knowledge. So that is what choosing subject of knowledge, independence in choosing subject of knowledge is implausible or illogical if you say so. No, that is not true. Why? Pratataushnya prakashe api. Pratata aushnya prakashe api. Savitari dahati prakashayati iti swatantriya vyapadesha darshanat. So here, even though Savitari, sun, has got light and warmth, both eternally, means it has got it permanent. Even then, sometimes we do see people saying that sun is burning sun, say, afternoon burning sun, or summer burning sun, or that their light has come. Now, sun does not lose light or warmth anytime. But depending upon how people see that, they say it burns or it is lighting up, etc. So there, in usage at least, we do see the independence of the particular, or the description of the independence of that particular action. Similarly, even though knowledge is eternal, we could always say that I know, because that independence of that action can be always expressed. It can be always expressed. That is the idea. Then now, again, there is an objection. The objection is, Nanu, no, that cannot be so said so. Why? Nanu. Savituhu dahya prakashya sanyoge sati dahati prakashayati iti vyapadeshaha syat. So if you say, that is, if you object that Savituhu, sun, Dahya Prakashya Sanyoge Sati, when it comes in contact with Sanyoga, in contact with the things which it illumines or the things which it burns. So, suppose something is burnt by sun or something is illumined by sun. Only when it comes in contact with the things which it burns or illumines, only in that context can we say that it burns or it illumines. Like that, if you say, only in that context we can describe sun to burn and illumine. Like that, if you say, then na, that is not, we cannot accept, because, now this objection is not ended. So we say that, yes, if you say that sun, only when it comes in contact with that which it illumines or that which it burns, then we can say that sun burns or sun illumines. But natu brahmanaha pragutpattehe jnana karma sanyoga asti iti vishamo drishtantah. But in the case of Brahman, pragutpattehe, before the origin of universe, jnana karma sanyoga asti, there is no coming together or combining of jnana and karma. And so Vishamaha Drishtantah. And so this example is not appropriate here, the example of sun. So if Sankhya philosophers say that, you see, sun, you can tell that sun burns or sun illumines only with reference to something that it burns or it illumines. But in the case of Brahman, before the origin of universe, there is no combination of karma and jnana. And so this particular illustration of the sun or example is not appropriate here. If you say so, then na, that cannot be accepted, say the Advaita Vedantins. Why? Asatyapi karmani savita prakashata iti kartritva vyapadesha darshanat evam asatyapi jnana karmani brahmanaha tadaikshata iti kartritva vyapadesha upapattehe na vaishamyam. So na vaishamyam, this example is not inappropriate here. Why? Because asatyapi karmani savita prakashati iti. Though sun does not, means sun is always like that as it is. It is not that it gets up in one morning and say, okay, now let me illumine this earth, like that. Nothing is happening. Actually, another thing which I want to hint now and then, you see the scientific clarity behind Brahma Sutra. Veda Vyasa, everybody accepts that Veda Vyasa, whatever Veda Vyasa, he compiled Brahma Sutras. So that is like many 5,000 years ago, because in Mahabharata, Brahma Sutras are talked of. So how much clarity is there? Sun is not changing. See the clarity, scientific clarity. Sun is not changing. It is not that it is illumining anything. So that means it is always there. Now, physicists or cosmologists, only in 20th century, they realized this. In its full detail, they realized it. Before that, there were so many ifs and buts and all that. The heliocentric model of universe itself came much later. Many people were killed also. But the point is, but here it is so clear. They are not even, there is no confusion. The language is no Sankhyan or Advaita Vedanti. They are not discussing that point, whether sun remains same or not. That is a scientific clarity. So that means definitely this knowledge was there. We can see it all the places, even in the Vedas. Anyway, so Asatyapi karmani, though there is no separate action where sun says, okay, let me illumine the earth or something. Nothing of that sort is happening. Savita prakashate iti kartritva vyapadesha darshanat. Though such a thing is not happening, but still there is this description. There is this description that Savita prakashate iti, that sun illumines. Though there is no action like that. Evam, similarly, asatyapi jnana karmani brahmanaha tadaikshate iti kartritva vyapadesha upapattehe. Though there is no combination of jnana, knowledge and action, Brahman tadaikshata iti, it envisioned like that kartritva vyapadesha, ascribing an agency to Brahman or making Brahman a doer is upapattehe, is logical. It's only just for explaining purposes. That is logical. There is no vaishamya. There is no contradiction. Karma apekshayam tu brahmani ikshitritva shrutayah sutaram upapannaha. Also, here we are talking about Brahman being a doer. That means Brahman having an agency. But karma apekshayam tu. But compared to that, or in respect of that, with respect to that, Brahmani ikshitritva shrutayah sutram upapanna. So Shruti or Vedas, which talk about the ikshana or the envisioning of Brahman, envisioning work or envisioning action of Brahman, they are quite plausible. They are quite plausible or logical. That is the idea here. Kim punaha tat karma? What is that action? Because karma is ascribed to Brahman. So what is that action? Yat, that prag utpattehe Ishvara jnanasya vishaya bhavati iti, which becomes the subject of knowledge of Ishvara before the origin of universe. Like that, if we were to ask, tattvanyattvabhyam anirvachaniye namarupe avyakrite vyachikirshite iti brahma. So what is that action? What is that karma? That is what cannot be, that which is anirvachaniya, that which cannot be defined or described. Tattvanyattvabhyam. And also that cannot be described either as real or as unreal. It cannot be described. And it is nama rupe avyakrite. And it is also avyakrita, means which is unmanifested. It is unmanifested. Vyachikirshite, and that has to be manifested. So that which cannot be manifested or which is not manifested in name and form, and which vyachikirsha means the desire to manifest. So which is desired to be manifested, which is desired or it is thought that it should be manifested, that thing is karma. So here what is karma? What is the object? What is the object what is the object of the knowledge, or what is the action? So here the action or object is this manifestation of the unmanifest. Manifestation through name and form of the unmanifest. That is the object. And how does that happen? Yat prasadadhi yoginam api atita anagata vishayam pratyaksham jnanam icchanti yoga shastra vidah kimu vaktavyam tasya nitya siddhasya ishwarasya shrishti sruti samhriti vishayam nitya jnanam bhavati iti. So yat prasadadhi, definitely, indeed, by the grace of which yoginam api, yogis also, that means those who meditate, ascetics, atita anagata vishayam pratyaksham jnanam icchanti yoga shastra vidah. So the yoga shastra vidah, the knowers of the scriptures of yoga or treatises of yoga, they say that by the grace of that particular thing which gets manifested in name and form, yogis also, they atita anagata. Atita means past, anagata means that which has not come, that means future. Of that they get, icchanti means they get, jnanam, pratyaksham jnanam, they get direct knowledge. Kimu vaktavyam tasya, what to tell when yogis themselves get that knowledge of past and future? What to tell? Tasya nitya siddhasya ishwarasya shrishti sthiti samhriti vishayam nitya jnanam bhavati iti. Is there any necessity to say, or it is needless to say, that eternal nitya siddha, eternally present Ishvara, who does srishti sthiti samhriti, creation, maintenance and destruction, for that person nitya jnanam, knowledge is eternal. Is it necessary to tell it separately? That means even yogis who meditate and do austerities, even they know about the future and the past. If that is the case, it is needless to say that Ishvara has eternal knowledge. Ishvara here means, of course, it means Brahman. Brahman has eternal knowledge. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Shubhratri.